Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Microeconomics lecture first. Today we are going to start ordinal approach of consumer behavior. Under it we are going to discuss indifference curve. Let's see what is indifference curve. Indifference curve is an actually graph which show all the combinations of two goods that give equal satisfaction to the consumer. It means such type of a graph which are going to give a consumer equal satisfaction on all the parts of the graph. Or you can say it, indifference curve analysis is an approach to the study of consumer behavior that requires no numerical measure of utility. What it means, no numerical measure of utility. No numerical measure of utility. It means in ordinal approach, what we were saying, that utility can be measured, and utility is a measurable unit. While in indifference curve, we are saying that no numerical measure of utility. Before starting the topic of indifference curve, we have to recall the concept of cardinal utility and ordinal utility. If you remember the last lecture related to cardinal utility, what was cardinal utility? We say that cardinal utility is such a utility according to which utility can be measured into the units. Like we assume utilometer that can measure the utility into utilometers. What is the cardinal utility? Cardinal are having the concept like utility is measurable. Remember it that cardinal is having the concept that utility is measurable, that it can be measured. Utility is measurable. In some imaginary units and utilities of goods can be added. This concept is called cardinal utility. And on another side, what is an ordinal utility? Actually, indifference curve approach assumes that utilities cannot be added. Utilities cannot be added. According to cardinal utility, utility is measurable, while according to ordinal utility, utility cannot be added. They can be compared only without measuring into units. Concept is clear to all of you. What is cardinal utility? Cardinal are having the concept that utility can be measurable, while ordinal having the concept that utility cannot be added. Let's explain what is indifference curve. As we read before, indifference curve is such a curve which having the combination of two commodities. Let's say you are going to purchase two goods, X and Y, and a different combination of X and Y on the same indifference curve show the same level of satisfaction. What it means? It means combination A, B, C, D, E are showing the same level of satisfaction. There is no difference between A, B, C, D and E and so on. For example, we are having different combination and units like this, units of X and units of Y. Before discussing the slope of indifference curve, here is very important point you must know about it, that how we can measure the slope of a curve. And when we are going to measure the slope of a curve, this is your slope, and what is the slope of the curve? This is your slope of the curve, and this slope of the curve is known as MRS, mean marginal rate of substitution. Actually, marginal rate of substitution show the exchange between two commodities X and Y are called marginal rate of substitution. And how we can measure it? That MRS is dy over dx, and this change can be measured through with the help of table and diagram. You can see here in the table that if we are going to divide the differences change in Y, What was changed in y, that is 15 to 10, change in y was 5. And what was changed in x, 1 to 2, it's 1. This means 5 divided by 1 is equal to 5, 3 divided by 1 is equal to 3, 2 divided by 1 is equal to 2, and 1 divided by 1 equal to 1. This decreasing slope actually show the marginal rate of substitution. You can see this marginal rate of substitution with the help of diagram from A to B. This gap is marginal rate of substitution from B to C. This is the marginal rate of substitution, and you can see here as the curve is sloping downward, marginal rate of substitution is going on to fall. It's going on to decrease. What is an indifference map? Actually, a set of indifference curves that show different level of satisfactions. We say on the same indifference curve, different combination give the same level of satisfaction. But for different level of satisfaction, we have to take different indifference curves like U1, U2, and U3. But all the points on the same curve, like on the U1, you see the point A1, A2, A3, A4, and A5. All the point on the same indifference curve give the same level of satisfaction. But the point on different indifference curves show different level of satisfaction. For example, the points on U2 having the greater satisfaction than to U1, and point on U3 having the most important satisfaction, greater satisfaction than U1 and U2. And these three maps actually show the map of indifference curve. Let's check the assumptions of indifference curve. First, we see that what is the first? Consumer is rational and aims to maximize utility. As a normal human being, he prefers more quantity of food to less. Means he is spending like this, that he is able to get more quantity of food than to spend it less. Second one is consumer can tell which combination of goods he prefers and among which he is indifferent. It means that consumer is having different combinations, and no, it's up to the consumer to which combination consumer is going to prefer according to its own choice. Here are some properties of indifference curve. Remember these properties so your concept may be more clear. See here, if I see, here is y, here is x, and this is your IC. You first remember IC is such a curve which form between two commodities y and x. Okay, this is the first. This is a downward sloping curve, means it's having the negative slope. Downward sloping curve and is having the negative slope. It's in that you can see here. Yeah. IC is such a curve which is having negative slope, and IC is such a curve which is showing the true mean IC is having the negative slope, and IC is convex to origin, means convex to origin like this. This is the convex form and this is your origin. You say it to 0. This is the convex. This is the convex, and to whom you can call it concave. If IC is like this, this is the concave, and this is the convex. IC is convex to the origin and it is having the slope downward. And what is the third property? That IC curves don't intersect to each other. What it means? It means that I erase this from here. It means that if you are having the indifference curve, like this, this means you are having the IC like this, IC1, and this is IC2. This is not the wrong. What it means this is not wrong? Because IC1 show the separate level of satisfaction. IC1 show the separate level of satisfaction and IC2 show the separate level of satisfaction. Both communities behave differently on different incidents. It means that IC is having 5 to 10 properties. First, it is convex to region, is an active slope, is a combination of two communities. All the points on the same indifference curve show the same level of satisfaction. Two indifference curve don't intersect to each other. Here we are going to explain why indifference curve must have these properties. Let's see. I assume if I say indifference curve is having the negative slope. Let's see, I say indifference curve is having like this. It means IC curve is greater. You can see that. It means that if IC curve is concave to region, the lie is not as much preferable. Mean at concave, indifference curve is going on to reduced. If I say indifference curve is convex to the region having negative slope, let's assume opposite of it. If indifference curve is like this, it means that indifference curve is having the positive slope, and this is showing that MRS is going on to increase. MRS increase here and MRS decrease here. Let's assume another property. For example, I say indifference curve is not vertical, indifference curve is not horizontal. Why like this? Because when indifference curve is vertical, it has it have only blue. It means that if we assume an indifference curve is having the vertical slope, it means that x commutative is fixed by while commutative can increase or decrease. And when we say IC is having the horizontal slope, it means that you are having the fixed items of y, whilst items of x can be increased or decreased. IC curve don't intersect like this. I say this is IC1 and this is IC2. This is not the property of IC curve. It's mean that both into indifference curve don't intersect to each other. Today we have discussed what is indifference curve and properties of indifference curve. Tomorrow we'll start the next chapter. Please read it. In case of any confusion, discuss on the comment bar and your groups. See you in the next lecture. Allah Hafiz.